Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about an unusual thief who was caught by our OP. And I'm not just saying that the thief was unusual. So let's move on to our first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Steal from cars? Have fun crying to police. This takes place about 6 months ago. There was talk going around the neighborhood about random things missing from people's cars, to the point where people were questioning their own sanity. Why would my neighbor's charger be gone, but his wallet still here? The number of stories became clear that there was someone checking for unlocked cars at night. My car was even stolen from 3 times. It's my own fault for forgetting to lock it, I know. I'd come out and the change from my cup holder would be missing, but the box of DVDs and set of golf clubs in the back seat were still there. The 3rd time he took something, it ended up being an $80 speaker I just bought that day. This triggered a personal vendetta. Now to the revenge. I used to work as a night shift supervisor for a popular furniture company, so I regularly got home from work at 1:56 a.m. on the dot. I had a very strict nightly routine. This night was no different. When I get home, I let my 2 Great Danes out in the front yard to handle their business while I smoke a bowl before heading in to make some dinner. Before I took a hit, I noticed someone riding their bike down the street. I assumed it was just another night shift worker without a car as he pulled into the driveway a few houses down and across the street from me. When I saw him leave the driveway and keep riding, I was immediately fishy. I let my dogs back inside and woke my parents up. I'm only 22 and a few months away from buying a house of my own. I told them that I think the car thief is outside and if they hear any yelling to call the police. I got back outside to finish my bowl, and wouldn't you know it, he's down the street in a different driveway. I watched him go to 3 houses, checking all the car handles to see if they were unlocked. He starts to make his way to my house, so I hid my bowl and sat closer to the bush next to my front door. At this point, I can't see him. So when I don't hear the squeaking of his bike anymore, I stand up to see him in the middle of my side yard walking his bike towards my car. I yelled out loud enough for my parents to hear, "Hey, mother effer!" He tries to ride away when he hears me, but I'm already at a dead sprint. As he gets off my yard and to the road, I dive and tackle him off the bike, getting pretty bloody from being dragged a few feet before he fell off. He stands up and we get in a mini fight for 30 to 45 seconds before I take him to the ground in a headlock. He gave up at that point. Next thing I know, my 300-pound dad comes running out in nothing but his underwear while on the phone with the police. 5 minutes later, 2 squad cars show up and they sat us both down to hear the stories. I told them everything that happened, minus the smoking a bowl part. He switched his story 3 times. First saying he was just taking a pee, then he said he was getting out of work, and lastly, that he was going to a friend's house. The cop searched his backpack and found a bunch of stuff, including a bottle of my neighbor's prescription pills. They ended up giving him a court date and letting him go since he gave a confession of the crime. The best part of this story is that my best friend's dad's a detective for the police department, and he watched the body cam footage the next day. This 53-year-old man was crying hysterically, saying, "All I heard was some yelling and then I got tackled." He also said he was very disturbed seeing my dad in his underwear. And our second story. Lazy, entitled coworker gets what's coming to him. When I became a lead technician, installer, in mid-2018, I was assigned to my first helper. I'll call him Brad. Not his real name, but similar enough. Brad was assigned to me partially because it was believed that Brad, being an Army reservist, and I, prior Navy, would get along, or at least have similar work ethic. I left as an E5, and Brad was an E6 at the time. At first, things were great. Somewhere along the way, Brad began to complain and do other things which made my job increasingly difficult, but yet he refused to quit. These included claiming a perceived favoritism from management towards certain techs, to include assignment of more favorable job assignments and enforcement of grooming standards. Those who did not see it or other perceived evils committed by the company were just intentionally ignoring it, or as he called it, being ostriches. He'd often refused to take instruction from someone who he deemed unfit to lead, dropping hints that I was still subordinate to him due to rank, which were now meaningless to me. Despite claiming he knew what he was doing from past experience, would constantly make rookie mistakes. He also expressed disagreement with certain company-wide wiring standards. While en route to job sites at the start of the day, he'd ask me what time I thought we'd be finished, as he had appointments that afternoon. Occasionally, he would come to work sore or injured from working out too hard the night before, informing me that he was going to be pretty useless, e.g. open sores on his hands from using chin-up bar without gloves. He was extremely nosy when it came to personal matters, even after he was told it was none of his business. He seemed to know nearly everything about every other tech's projects, work ethic, rate of pay, hours spent/wasted on said projects, and personal affairs. He suggested taking long breaks, hiding, leaving early for/returning late from lunch, but still only punching out for 30 minutes, and other ways of wasting time. He claimed it was because other guys were doing it and not getting in trouble, and were all supposed to work until at least 5. He began to disappear on job sites, especially when he knew he had no cell signal. He commonly spoke the phrase, "I'm open to suggestions," but every suggestion I made was shot down with several seemingly pre-planned reasons why it was not a good idea. Some tasks he simply refused if he saw them as pointless. One such task was pulling a few wire runs in an attic before we left for the day so we could get a little ahead prior to our next visit to that project. Running said wires, by myself, took less than an hour. Also commonly spoken, more so towards the end, was, "I'm not a lead, so I shouldn't be expected to." E.g., remember when additional parts are required, use own resources for company business, etc. Own resources included his own phone, as helpers are not issued one where leads are, or gas for his own vehicle when he didn't feel like meeting me at the office to take the company truck. I had numerous meetings with my supervisor about Brad, who then decided to escalate my concerns to one of the big bosses. The morning of that meeting, I was told to drop Brad off at a job site, get him started on task, and return to the office. I was specifically instructed to not tell him with whom I was meeting and why, which I didn't need to be told. He persisted in asking about the meeting after I returned to the job site, where I found he'd done literally nothing, confirmed by both the customer and owner and an electrician on site. I apologized profusely to the customer and set to work dodging Brad's questions the entire day. The next day, my wife and I were to close on our house, so I had it scheduled off weeks in advance. My supervisor called to inform me that Brad was let go, suggested I ignore any attempt by him to contact me, and asked how the closing went. After they heard about Brad, other coworkers told me they instantly understood why they'd been instructed to stay away from the office that morning. Brad tried filing a claim with the Department of Labor that he was wrongfully terminated due to his veteran status. He was scheduled to be activated for deployment, but it was canceled. Let me be clear when I say that this company loves veterans. I cannot stress that enough. It seemed that his contempt for company policy was not unknown to upper management. I was asked to give a statement about my time working with him, and I never heard from him again. To the best of my knowledge, his claims were dismissed, but I was asked to keep all texts he and I exchanged for the foreseeable future. And our last story. Entitled woman decides a private farm is a petting zoo. So I bought a new house. Now, we originally just bought the house, but after talking with the previous owner, he offered to sell us his small farm and the animals there. He's older and can't really care for them. We're still in the process of getting all papers in order, but my partner's already started taking care of the farm. Our daughter, Lily, is in absolute heaven. There's 2 new dogs that she just adores, and her favorite animal is a big draft horse that's the most gentle thing we've ever seen. I'm going to keep working from home, and my partner will be retiring way early to be a stay-at-home dad and take care of the farm. Now that's the background. The real start's coming. Not even an hour ago, we had a lovely specimen of the entitled genus basically jump the farm's fence with 7 kids in Scouts uniforms. Not sure what troop. My fiance noticed them and asked what they were doing and that the farm is private property. The woman's response was just priceless. "We saw the little ducks and chicken and we want to pet them. It's clearly a petting zoo since they're here." She pointed at Lily and I while we were brushing the horse. We tried to explain that we were the owners, even though technically we're just the caretakers for now, and that she was trespassing. Cue the biggest adult tantrum I've ever heard. She demanded we let her in for free and give the kids free rides on the pony. Yeah, not gonna happen. Draft horses are giants, and while they're gentle and could technically be ridden, a fall could cause serious injury. especially on 10-ish-year-old kids. My partner was amazing at dealing with her and simply said she'd have to leave or we'd call the police. She kept shrieking that she'd get him fired and that she was going to post a terrible review. A few curse words even added for dramatic effect. We were seriously about to call the police when we actually got very lucky. The old owner was bringing us some vet papers we needed to sign for the animals and saw the whole drama. He tore into her and made her leave in minutes. Then we went on with our business. My daughter, however, had the best input into the whole thing. "Mommy, I think that lady is strong in the dumb side." I blame her dad for that pun. Also, if anyone's curious, no, there's no petting zoos in the area we live in. Just a minor update. This happened a while ago and I forgot to add it. I tried contacting the scouts about this woman and they were lovely. They took details, but were sincere that without a number and with just a general physical description, there's not much that can be done. They'd still make sure to tell all the leaders that my property was not open to the public. I told them that if they wanted to go to the creek nearby that's in our property, or if they had an emergency near me, they were always welcome to ask first. I won't say no, but the farm and animals are of course out of the question for any kind of interaction. I did see this woman again at the groceries. This is a really small area and she didn't glance my way, so nothing too big. Lily was absolutely right. She was strong in the dumb side if she called a draft horse a pony and thought it was a good idea for kids to ride it. My eyes rolled so far back I saw the back of my skull. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.